We're still a little more than a year away from seeing Robert Pattinson protect Gotham City from a number of villains in Matt Reeves' upcoming The Batman. But it seems like the man who broke the bat might be heading to a future sequel. Fans have seen numerous versions of Bane over the years, with different movies, shows, and games all adding their own spin on his backstory after being brought up in a prison on Santa Prisca. Like many fans already know, he engages in a war against the Dark Knight, trying to push him to the edge. In one of the most iconic scenes in comic book history, taking place in Batman number 497, Bane broke the Batman over his knee. We've only properly witnessed the moment in live action back in 2012, with Tom Hardy delivering a great modern take on Bane. Let's hope the next version gives the villain a little more breathing room. We also saw Shane West step into the role on TV in Gotham's final season. Although he never gets to Hulk out on Venom, he does don a respirator similar to Hardy. Obviously, fans have seen Bane in all of his leotard-wearing glory back in the dreadful Batman and Robin, but that version was just mere muscle rather than a criminal mastermind. But hey, at least we got to see what a Venom dose looks like before Batgirl and Robin defeated him anyway. Most recently, a comical version of the villain won over fans in the animated Harley Quinn series. He might be a parody of Tom Hardy in The Dark Knight Rises, but he also wears a comic-accurate look with the red and white mask design. It's pretty safe to say he's not the tactical genius comic book readers are used to, but instead, he's the butt of some brilliant jokes from the Harley Quinn writers. However, a potential project for the villain would have seen a much more serious vision on the big screen. After the surprise success of Joaquin Phoenix's award-winning Joker, Heroic Hollywood has exclusively learned that there was going to be an attempt to pitch a Bane standalone film to DC executives. In a similar way to the Todd Phillips film, it could have offered filmmakers a chance to explore the villain's psyche with a character study, although hopefully with a little more brawling. Much like Joker avoided leaning on the cape and cowl too much, it's probable that Bane's solo film would not have featured the iconic hero. However, a potential pitch for the film would have loosely used the Vengeance of Bane story from the comics as the basis for the script. The plot would have introduced Bane to the DC universe, revealing that his tragic origin began before he was even born. Since Batman is key to his motivation across the arc, the Bat could have existed somewhere in the film, even if it was just as a looming presence over Gotham City. But let's look at the Vengeance of Bane story and what we might have seen from the project. Batman: Vengeance of Bane introduced the villain to readers for the first time, exploring his birth in Peñaduro, a prison in Santa Prisca. Bane's mother was heavily pregnant when she was captured following a bloody civil war that his revolutionary father had been killed in. The corrupt government decided the rebel's unborn son should carry out the punishment. The boy was raised in the infirmary until his mother's death, with the prison warden putting the 6-year-old in with the rest of the inmates. Again, clearly ethics aren't an issue in Santa Prisca. The child had a violent upbringing, even watching the guards feed his mother's corpse to the sharks in the water surrounding the prison. The boy became a product of his environment, violently murdering an inmate who wanted to own him. Discovering the horrific scene, one of the guards cried out, "He's a bane to everything that is holy." And so the legendary villain began to emerge. And just to tease his future obsession with Batman, his constant nightmares involved being terrorized by a giant bat, while a vision of his potential future pushed him to endure the horrors of the prison. The story moves on as he's placed in solitary confinement for 10 years. At night, he'd be hounded by rats and crabs before the ocean's rising tide floods his cell. There's no doubt the readers of Tom King's recent Batman run will recognize some of that imagery. He spends his time refusing to give in to fear, finally killing the bat in his nightmare, which later leads him to believe killing Batman is his destiny. After his long spell in solitary is finished, he spends his time absorbing as much knowledge from as many books as he can read, meditating instead of sleeping, and of course, getting those all-important gains in the prison gym. Before too long, the sadistic warden volunteers him for a drug trial run by a mysterious group of scientists, and it's here that he gets his iconic venom infusion. The serum stimulates his adrenal glands as well as fusing the left and right hemispheres of his brain. After faking his death and fighting off the sharks that ate his mother's body, Bane returns to the prison to kill the warden and liberate the trio of prisoners that were loyal to him. They already told him about Gotham and how it became Batman City after dark. After years of being plagued by his nightmarish visions, he traveled to Gotham to take Bruce down, seeing their future confrontation as the manifestation of his destiny. Bane helps one of his gang get revenge on a crime boss in a bid to draw out Batman into the open so the villain could study his opponent. This point in the book would have been the perfect place to end the solo film, with Batman on his way to a bloody crime scene as Bane watches on from afar. If the audience never actually saw the hero, only glimpsing bat-like shadows and haunting imagery, it could really capture the horror of Bane's nightmares. Anyway, following a brief skirmish, Bane quickly deduces the Caped Crusader has a rule against killing and vows to break Batman before making Gotham his playground. What comes next is the legendary Nightfall story arc, where Bane slowly chips away at Bruce's sanity. He unleashes a horde of villains on Gotham and watches the Dark Knight struggle to contain the fallout. When Bane finally figures out the hero's true identity, he attacks him in Wayne Manor when he's too exhausted to defend himself, and in one of DC's most iconic moments, Bane snaps Batman's back, leaving him a paraplegic. The second Vengeance of Bane volume saw the villain imprisoned in Blackgate Prison and develops his arc even further from the first part of the story. It continues to show Bane's impressive talent for recruiting other villains into his net, eventually working with KGBeast and Ratcatcher to ensure his escape. After finally hooking himself back up to a venom supply, he discovers a shocking truth that his dead father might have survived the revolution. Although the second book continued to develop the character's journey even further than before, it's likely that the films would have only adapted the first volume. It's a perfect origin tale for fans familiar with the comics as well as general audiences. But Heroic Hollywood recently learned the bittersweet reason why the idea for a Bane solo movie was shot down. An insider with knowledge of the project tells Heroic Hollywood that the idea to use Vengeance of Bane for a Joker-esque standalone film was shot down before even being pitched because Bane is officially off the table in the event that Warner Brothers might use him in a future Batman film. While this doesn't tell us much about the future of Matt Reeves' film, it's possible that the hulking villain might take aim at Robert Pattinson in the future. With all the shots we've seen of the new Batsuit, it's hard not to wonder what an accurate version of Bane could look like in the mythos Reeves and Pattinson are crafting. While Tom Hardy's iconic take on the character gave us a modern translation of the Nightfall tale, he wasn't pumped up on Venom. That was just Hardy's bulked up physique. Thanks to the Batman's seemingly modern gothic tone, bringing Bane to Gotham in search of Batman could be fascinating. Perhaps adding a dose of body horror would help a new Bane stand out from previous iterations. Having Venom pump through your veins, stretching your skin, and rapidly enhancing your physique has got to be painful, right? Because Matt Reeves previously mentioned he'll heavily focus on Bruce's skills as the world's greatest detective, Bane can't just be a simple, violent brawler. He'll need to be shown as the villainous mastermind that he is in the comic book pages. And if the sequel blended elements from Nightfall to push Pattinson's Dark Knight to the edge, it would be a perfect way of introducing even more villains from his rogues gallery, especially if Bane's the one to break them all out of Arkham Asylum. We already know that Paul Dano's Riddler, Colin Farrell's Penguin, and Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman are set to appear in The Batman. Naturally, a sequel could surely double down on the villain count. A great example of how Bane could be portrayed is in Arkham Origins. The game sees the villain already out of Santa Prisca and searching for a way to cure his venom addiction while also pursuing Batman to vanquish the Bat figure from his nightmares. He even deduced Bruce's identity before using a new batch of venom called TN1, which could be used without a storage tank. It proves to be a crucial mistake as the new serum caused severe memory loss and Bane quickly forgot Batman's true identity. The Arkham series proved there's plenty of interesting ways to develop these characters in new fascinating ways. Let's hope Bane returns if that elusive Arkham Knight sequel ever materializes. But now comes the all-important question: who should don the mask to hunt Batman through Gotham's urban jungle? DC fans have long wished to see MCU alum Dave Bautista in the role, referring back to his physique and performances in films like Guardians of the Galaxy, Blade Runner 2049, and Spectra to prove that he could manage a primary role. We've seen plenty of designs over the years showing Batista in the iconic costume, so it would be great to see him let loose against the Bat. The star even told fans on Twitter that he'd love to accept the challenge of the role. If Matt Reeves, however, is looking for someone who could duel Robert Pattinson in a mental game as well as a physical challenge, perhaps Javier Bardem would be a good choice for the DC sequel. His work in Skyfall as the Bond villain Raul Silva proves just how well he could deliver a criminal mastermind with a grudge, and his intimidating performance as the hitman in No Country for Old Men just shows off the intensity he could bring to the role. But while we wait for more information on Bane's potential return to the big screen, keep an eye on Heroic Hollywood for all the latest entertainment news. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and check out our other videos. Let us know in the comments who you want to play Bane, and tell us what you want to see from the Batman. Thank you for watching this video.